What's up, music lovers? Today we're diving into something seriously explosive. We're talking about Eric Clapton Slowhand himself, the blues rock icon, the man some fans once called God. But behind those silky solos and laid-back stage moves, there are long whispered stories of jealousy, rivalry, and bitter grudges that supposedly followed him through his career. Clapton helped reinvent blues rock and inspired generations of guitarists. But according to people who claim to have been close to the scene, he also had a sharp, unforgiving side that most fans never saw. When he decided he didn't like someone, insiders say it could turn brutal, icy comments, cold shoulders, and feuds that lingered for years. Today, we're counting down 10 musicians Eric Clapton has been rumored to resent or clash with the most. Some of this is legend, some of it anecdote, but all of it has fed rock's wildest backstage stories. Let's jump in. 10. Ginger Baker. Brilliant drummer, unbearable man. We start with Cream's volcanic drummer, Ginger Baker. Their band created some of the greatest power trio music in history, but behind the scenes, it was chaos. From the moment Cream formed in 1966, the stories say Eric and Ginger were at war. Baker's explosive temper and unpredictable moods reportedly clashed constantly with Clapton's ego and perfectionism. People who were there say rehearsals turned into shouting matches, and entire tours were powered as much by adrenaline and hatred as by music. Some claim Clapton later described playing with Ginger as one of the most stressful experiences of his life, and that Cream's reunion offers fell apart largely because he didn't want to face Baker again. 9. Jack Bruce. Too much control, not enough space. Next is Jack Bruce, Cream's bassist and main vocalist. If Ginger was the chaos, Jack was the ambition. He wrote much of the band's material and sang many of their biggest songs. Rumors say Clapton quietly resented how much of Cream's identity revolved around Jack's songwriting and voice. Bruce's complex, often jazzy compositions didn't always match the raw blues sound Eric preferred. After Cream split, those close to the band recall finger-pointing, and Clapton allegedly blamed Bruce's ego and controlling nature for helping tear the trio apart. 8. Pete Townshend. Showman versus Purist. At number 8, Pete Townshend of The Who. In public, they showed each other respect. In private, the stories get darker. Clapton was a blues purist at heart. Townshend was a windmilling, guitar-smashing showman. According to rock writers and scene insiders, Clapton sometimes dismissed Pete's style as loud power chords and smashed instruments rather than real guitar finesse. Townshend's theatrics and rock operas divided critics, and the rumor mill claims Clapton saw him as more of a performer than a true blues musician. Whether that's fair or not, the quiet rivalry between The Who's architect and Slowhand has long been part of British rock mythology. 7. George Harrison. Friendship entangled with jealousy. Here's where it gets messy. George Harrison. On the surface, they were close. Clapton played on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and the two often appeared together. But beneath the friendship, people whispered about envy. Harrison had something Clapton never did: Beatles fame. Some say Eric privately believed George was praised more for his membership in the Beatles than for his pure guitar skills. And then came Pattie Boyd, George's wife, the woman Clapton fell helplessly in love with. His obsession inspired Layla, and eventually he and Pattie became a couple. Many believe that tangled mix of love, guilt, and rivalry permanently altered the relationship between the two guitar legends. 6. Phil Collins. Pop stardom versus blues credibility. At 6, Phil Collins. In the 80 seconds, Collins went from drummer to one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. Clapton and Collins worked together. Phil even played drums for Eric. But behind the collaboration, rumors say Clapton wasn't impressed with Phil's glossy pop dominance. Whispers from producers and journalists claim Clapton saw much of 80 Seconds pop, including Collins's solo hits, as overproduced and soulless compared to classic blues. While they stayed professionally cordial, the idea that a drummer-turned-pop singer could overshadow guitar heroes didn't sit well with traditionalists like Eric. 5. Mark Knopfler, the fingerstyle threat. At number 5, Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits. No pick, no flashy tricks. Just terrifyingly clean fingerstyle and songs that took over the radio. As Dire Straits climbed the charts, guitar magazines started lining Knopfler up alongside Clapton in debates. Rumors say Eric didn't love the comparisons, seeing Mark's soft attack and clinical tone as a world away from the raw blues energy he valued. Whether he truly hated Knopfler or not, the clash of styles helped fuel one of the great unspoken guitar rivalries of the 80 Seconds. 4. Stevie Ray Vaughan, the new guitar god. Number 4. Stevie Ray Vaughan, a Texas hurricane who suddenly had critics calling him the greatest living blues guitarist. That kind of praise inevitably stepped on Slohan's territory. Some people close to Clapton say he admired Stevie's ability, but also felt overshadowed by the hype. Stories from the road claim Clapton would study Stevie's shows intensely, then criticize his volume and flash as too much for true blues. Whether that was genuine critique or wounded pride, the Vaughan-Clapton comparison became one of the defining narratives of 80 Seconds blues rock. 3. Prince, pop genius versus blues purist. At 3, the Purple One himself, Prince, singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and to many, an underrated guitar monster. When guitar polls started ranking Prince alongside, or even above, Clapton, rumor has it, Eric wasn't thrilled. Prince's wild stage outfits, acrobatics, and genre hopping felt miles away from Clapton's stripped-down blues image. Some insiders claim Clapton saw Prince more as a pop phenomenon than a serious blues-rooted guitarist. Despite those jaw-dropping solos at shows like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 2. Jimi Hendrix, the shadow that never left. Number 2 could only be Jimi Hendrix. The story is legendary. Clapton watches Hendrix play in London in the 60 Seconds and walks out shaken to his core. Whether that exact tale is true or embellished, almost everyone agrees Hendrix changed the landscape overnight. From that point on, Clapton was constantly compared to Jimi. In interviews, critics asked about him relentlessly. Some accounts say Clapton occasionally brushed off Hendrix's style as wild and undisciplined. Others insist he respected him deeply, but hated living in his shadow. Whatever the truth, Hendrix became the ghost at the edge of every conversation about Clapton's greatness. 1. Pattie Boyd and George Harrison, the love that burned everything. Our number 1 isn't a musician, but she sits at the center of Clapton's most tangled rivalry. Pattie Boyd, George Harrison's wife. Clapton's muse, the woman at the heart of Layla. Eric's obsession with Pattie turned his friendship with George into one of rock's most painful love triangles. Some people believe his relentless pursuit of her was fueled not just by love, but by envy. Envy of George's life, his place in the Beatles, his apparent perfection. When Pattie finally left George for Eric, the fallout shook their circle for years.